party. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin-yang, come along.
Well, come on along and welcome aboard to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Today coming to you from the Rosemont Hilton in Chicago as the Big Ten Men's Basketball Media Days underway, and we are live from Chicago with you for that. Thanks a lot for joining us. On the program today, we're going to be talking to Taylor Lehman from Indiana Rivals. See if he can get his running mate Nick Baumgart along as well. Haven't seen him yet. But Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News, he's here. He's going to be joining us as well. We'll see who all we can drag in as people wander by. Just was standing next to Wisconsin coach Greg Garda just a minute ago. So people in and out all day long here at the Rosemont Hilton. As things are getting underway right now, Jim Delaney, the Big Ten commissioner, is on the dais speaking as we're talking to you right now. So we're going to be just patching it in as we go along today, man. Thanks a lot for joining us here on this Wednesday. Hump Day, we're getting you through the week as we're coming to you for the Rosemont Hilton, like I said, in Chicago, big men's basketball, Big Ten Media Days. A lot going on this week as the weekend wraps up with Hoosier hysteria for the Hoosiers, as that takes place on Saturday at the Simon Scott Assembly Hall. So all kinds of basketball action getting underway this week for Indiana. Today, Indiana will be bringing Archie Miller, of course, Devontae Green, and Deron Davis, speaking here at the big men's basketball Big Ten Media Days. So just a lot going on, man. It's a busy time, a busy area out here right now. We've got all the Radio Row stations around us, so if you pardon the noise in the background, if you can hear that, I can't tell what you can hear and what you can't hear, but I know there's a lot of people coming in and out. So, and it's just weird sitting here watching all the people go by. There goes the Iowa coach, and there goes some Penn State players. It's just it's a kind of a weird situation as we sit here. But we hope you enjoy it. We've got a lot coming up to talk about today as the basketball season is getting underway, full bore. We had men's basketball media day for IU last week. We got to talk to all the players and Archie Miller. Then we'll hear from those guys again today, and then have a little bit more from the breakout sessions. And we'll have all that the rest of the week. But we'll be able to talk to some of the other Big Ten coaches as well and get their perspectives on the Hoosiers and on the conference as a whole and what lies ahead. Of course, Michigan State has been picked to be the favorite by most people. They look as strong as any team in the conference for certain, as one that can make a run at a national championship. I'm not sure how many others in the conference actually have a shot at that. Unfortunately for Indiana, most people have picked the Hoosiers to finish in the bottom third of the conference this season. Most of the Hoosier faithful don't agree with that, but we'll see how that turns out. Archie Miller going into his third season in Bloomington now, and it's time to start producing. There's no doubt about that. He's missed the tournament his first two seasons in Bloomington. Indiana, as a school, has missed the last three, I believe. So getting back to the tournament is priority number one for Archie Miller and these Indiana Hoosiers. And recruiting going on right now as well. Obviously, a lot expected out of Hoosier hysteria this Saturday. Just saw that Caleb Love yesterday committed to North Carolina. There's another one off the board. North Carolina continues to get richer. They've had a great week recruiting-wise. But Indiana trying to get Dawson Garcia in the fold. That is pretty much their last main target that they're trying to get. He's got some visits scheduled coming up. We don't know about one to Indiana yet. Will he make Hoosier hysteria? Don't know about that. We'll have to find out. So we'll see. But feel free to hit us up on the text line. As always, you're free to do so, just like Tim did. Football question. Could Michael Penix be in the Heisman Trophy race? Absolutely not. I'll tell you why. Because he plays at Indiana, number one. Number two, because he's a freshman. And it's going to take an entire season of Indiana being legitimate, and that means they have to beat somebody. They have to beat a Michigan State, which I know they just played those guys, but I meant they have to win a game like that. Whether it's Michigan that'll be coming up later, they'll have another opportunity at Penn State. That's going to be an extraordinarily tough road to hoe. But you can go to places like Nebraska. You can win there, and that's a statement. Because although Nebraska is not the Nebraska of old, and they're not the Nebraska that Nebraska would like to be right now, it's still in Nebraska. It's still a Big Ten road game, and that is huge to win a Big Ten road game. But for Michael Penix to be considered in the Heisman Trophy race, and it's a great question, Tim, Indiana has got to bring some legitimacy. As a matter of fact, you go back to when Anthony Thompson was the runner-up for the Heisman Trophy back in '89. The reason he didn't win the Heisman Trophy? Because Indiana finished with a losing record. Simple and foremost, because they lost by a field goal. They missed a field goal against Purdue to end the season with 4 wins instead of just being even. But that was enough to keep him from getting the Heisman Trophy. They've only given it to one player from a losing team, and that was Paul Hornung in 1958 or 56 who was on Notre Dame. And Notre Dame in the 50s, come on, they were like movie stars. So that's the only time, but he is the closest. Anthony Thompson is the closest player to winning the Heisman off of a losing team since Paul Hornung. So that was a pretty daggone good deal in and of itself, but he still should have won the Heisman. It was crap that he didn't get it. Andre Ware from Houston won it that year. But anyway, I digress. We're talking football, but yeah, we'll see. Any news on Hassan Diarra's visit? I have not heard. Now, if you're adding before he leaves IU, yeah, I definitely think so, Tim. I think that he could be in the Heisman Trophy race next year if Indiana has a decent season. By decent season, I mean winning record. They go to a bowl game, he's probably going to be in the Heisman mix next season. His numbers, if they stay the same or if they stay like they are right now, they're outstanding. His pass completion rate, it's crazy. Everybody kept talking about Peyton Ramsey. Well, Michael Penix is doing the same thing. Actually, he's got a higher completion percentage. But he's also throwing further downfield at the same time. So, yeah, he definitely will be in that race, I think, next season, as long as Indiana gets to a bowl game this year. And I don't see why they should not. I'm expecting bigger and better things from them. So, there we go to that. Keep the text coming. 812-269-6367. Questions that you may have for any of the guests coming up. Taylor Lehman from Indiana Rivals is going to be joining me. He's up here at Big Ten Media Days. Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News will be joining me as well. Let's see. Who else? Oh, Dustin DePirick. Talked to Dustin from The Athletic. Don't forget about him. I may have Tom Brew on, Kevin Brockway. Got the whole crew as the Indiana contingent meanders by. We're all bowing to them as they go by, Stefan and crew. But, yeah, it's kind of where they've got a seat. Usually Radio Row is in a ballroom, a separate balcony room. Here they have it out in the foyer, the walkway of the Rosemont Hilton. So it's kind of cool, actually, because you see everybody that's coming and going into the main hall for the Big Ten Media Days. The coaches will be speaking individually this morning, which when Archie Miller's on the dais, that's mainly for the other media to ask him questions. The Indiana media, they get him more, but you can get them on the breakout sessions. That's the best time to get the coach and players because it's a smaller environment and you can get them for longer because they're in there for a set time instead of being a shoot away. But we continue seeing the coaches coming in for the various teams going into their hospitality area. So great time up here at the Rosemont Hilton in Chicago as we're coming to you live from Big Ten Men's Basketball Media Days. A lot going on. Taylor Lehman will be joining us from Indiana Rivals. Like I said, Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News, Dustin DePirick from The Athletic. Probably have Tom Brew from Sports Illustrated Indiana on as well. And maybe Kevin Brockway's in there. So we got all kinds of guys to get on here. But we're going to try to get the players, Indiana's player contingent. But because of the timeline, I'm not sure that it's going to work out. I'm not sure they're going to get here before we go off, unfortunately. So if that works out, we're definitely going to have them sit down with us when they come by. And hopefully we can. I know that Devontae Green and Deron Davis are the two players that are traveling with Archie. to the Big Ten Media Days. So men's soccer last night, ironically, the Hoosiers were in Chicago last night playing Northwestern, the Wildcats, and that was a game that Indiana led early. Then it was tied 1-1. Then Northwestern was charged with an own goal. It's not a typical own goal. It was a shot by Indiana that went off of a leg of a Northwestern player into the net. But either way, it was an own goal, and Indiana took a 2-1 lead. But they would come right back and stick another one in as well. And just a good Big Ten win for Indiana last night. 3-1, the final in that. As we sit here at the Rosemont Hilton, we're coming to you, of course, live from the Big Ten Men's Basketball Media Days. Watching all the people go by. I could just sit here and talk about the people walking by, all the various coaches and waving to you as you're talking. They have no idea what you're saying on the air right here as you go by. It's so funny. I just had one of the coaches wave. I'm thinking, hey, how you doing there, Coach Guard? It's funny. But yeah, looking forward to getting somebody else in here as soon as this break's over so we can have some conversation. But yeah, it's a lot going on. What's that, Jake? Yeah, and Jake, somebody said the other day, some of the fans commented that they want you to talk more. I told him, I said, that's up to him, man. So he just doesn't say a whole lot. But, hey, let's get to a break. We got coming up next, Taylor Lehman should be joining us sometime here soon. So I'll go out and grab him while we hit the break. So let's do that. Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you from the Rosemont Hilton in Chicago, live from the Big Ten Men's Basketball Media Day. We're back with more right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is A.J. Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
You're on the line with Jamal Meeks, former Indiana Hoosier, number 23, 1992. And I'm on the beat with Jim Cole.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry. Say something, We're back. We can't hear. It's hard to hear, so excuse us if get a little chatter there. But joined now by Taylor Lehman from Indiana Rivals, thehoosier.com. Taylor, how are you, brother?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. Welcome to the Rosemont Hilton here in Chicago. We're live from Big Ten Men's Basketball Media Day. Things just getting underway. Jim Delaney, the outgoing commissioner of the Big Ten, was just on the stage, and you just talked to me right before we went on that he gave his stance on the pay for play because this is becoming a huge issue. Of course, California just passed the bill that signed it into law by their governor. And then I saw last night that Kentucky, there's a representative from Kentucky that is already drafting same legislation. So this is going to be like wildfire. They're going to have to get a hold of this fast. But Jim Delaney gave his stance on that. I wasn't in there, obviously. So what all did he have to say, Taylor?
It's not going to be popular, but he that, his direct quote was, "It's not the NBA, it's not the WNBA." So he said once it goes past the payment for education, he thinks they get into pay for play, and he's not necessarily, he doesn't necessarily do that. And he talked about, he addressed it too. He said, it's not going to be a popular stance by him, but that he respects all the other stances. He understands where they're coming from. And he said it's just a core belief of his that the NCAA should not be a pay for play organization. And, I guess with somebody who's been involved in the NCAA for so long, it's not all that surprising. But he said it also wasn't predictable that eventually a bill was going to come about. But he did have kind of a concern that I've seen kind of going around where you have 50 different states drawing up their own plans for pay for play. And I guess it's not even pay for play. It's just making name on your likeness. And he said he doesn't see much of a difference between the two. He thinks that making money off of your name and your likeness and your image is similar to pay for play. But he said that he thinks it needs to be a nationwide undertaking rather than a statewide undertaking, which I can kind of see some arguments for.
And I see that one good thing is California is not set to go into effect until 2023. So they're like, okay, we're going to do this, but we're giving you time to take care of this in between if you want to do something different. I don't know where I don't know where I stand on it. It's not that I'm definitely not opposed to it. I'm not sure where it should be because you do have to look at the fact that when you get an education from a D1 school, what is that worth now? $250,000? I mean, it's a lot of money. Plus, you got to forget, they feed them any and everything they want. So they have no needs. Their medical needs, everything taken care of. Their housing needs, everything taken care of. They need transportation that's taken care of. So they're currently making a pretty good amount of money if you want to break it down that way. If you did it the other way and said, all right, we're going to give you $250,000, but you have to pay for 4 years of college, 4 years of food, 4 years of lodging. You got to pay for all that yourself. How's that going to work out?
Right.
So I think that people need to not just get on this bandwagon of, well, yeah, they should be paid. They are kind of getting paid up. But I want to find that happy medium. I don't want to be that get off my lawn guy.
Right.
But there is a medium somewhere. Like they're not exactly getting off. This is not exactly slave labor here.
Yeah, I think when you do allow athletes to get paid for their likeness, you're also you're allowing if you want to localize it, you're allowing Mike Penix to say that there are jerseys that are they're going to be a bunch of Mike Penix jerseys sold. There are going to be things that have Mike Penix's name on them, his likeness, because he's going to become a star in Bloomington. So a portion of that money is going to come back to him. So you are not only allowing the superstars to make money on their likeness, and obviously they're going to make more, but like the Tuas and the Joe Burrows and Justin Fields, but you're also allowing you're opening up recruitment for the smaller schools where they have markets where they don't necessarily have stars there, but you can still make some money. And I do see where you're talking about. They do get all of these things paid for them. They do. I think it's mostly just when you see how much money the NCAA and athletic departments make off of them, it's really hard to to
when you see people like Muppet Mark Emmert making the millions of dollars that we know he makes, it's ridiculous. But then you got to also look at the fact that, okay, we got Michael Penix, but what about that guy who's on the team, who's on maybe even on scholarship, but doesn't play hardly at all? He's not going to have that name recognition, and that's like part of that's just life,
right?
Because you make more money than I do, or that's getting introduced to how life really is, I guess. But it's a tricky situation, but it's a course they've got to get taken care of because it's not stopping. It's like a river; it's just going to keep flowing. It's coming at you regardless.
Right, and I think that's what California was trying to do. I think they were trying to move that along, like you said. They're giving them time, and if you see several states drawing up copycat bills, I think some type of organization is going to want to get in front of it and create some type of universal rules where you're not allowing recruiting advantages in schools in different states.
Ironically, Indiana may be one of the last states to do it simply because the NCAA is housed in Indiana.
Yes.
So I'm like, Indiana's not going to bite the hand that feeds them. Does that prevent a state like Indiana from drawing that up? I think that's a fair question, probably.
I would assume so. Yeah, with it being in Indianapolis, I think there's, that provides benefits that other states and other programs like Indiana has. They don't. Other programs and states don't have those benefits by having the NCAA actually headquartered in the state. So that's actually an aspect of it that I hadn't thought about yet.
Talking to Taylor Lehman from Indiana Rivals, thehoosier.com. We're here at the Rosemont Hilton in Chicago for a Big Ten Men's Basketball Media Day. A lot goes on here. It's different than football. Football, you split up into 2 days. It's nicer. You get to do a lot more. This is crammed in. It's bam, bam, bam. The coaches come in, and I was trying to explain earlier that for Indiana media, this is not for Indiana media to talk to Archie and the players. We do that plenty. It's to talk to the other coaches, to hear what their perspectives are. And it's actually for the other media to talk to Archie and the Indiana players. But what do you get out of this coming to an event like this?
This is mostly, for us, it's mostly, it's kind of testing the waters and just kind of seeing how other coaches are feeling about their programs, how the players are feeling. They try to bring their biggest leaders from the locker rooms here. And kind of like you said, it's kind of an opportunity to see how the other teams are doing. You really, as far as just like pure content, you don't get a ton of content. It's mostly just hearing some of the coaches and getting introduced to some of the other coaches that haven't been here for very long. Kind of seeing how they're rebounding from the end of their seasons and things like that. But yeah, it's kind of just kind of putting the cherry on top of all these media days that we have around this time of the year.
Yeah, it's ironic. We're sitting here talking. I'm talking to Taylor Lehman, as I said, across the aisleway at Fran McCaffrey, talking to Fred Hoiberg. So it's just a surreal environment here. How likely are these coaches to actually be honest, though? I think that, I'll be honest with you, I think Archie gives a lot of coach speak. Yeah. So I don't think you ever really have a true gauge on Indiana if you go by what he says. So I'm not sure what we can actually gain from this here, but some of them are, though. I think you got Tom Izzo. Yeah. I think Tom Izzo tells you how it is every time. He just going to say, we're this, and bam, and he lays it out. And I love listening to people like him.
Right, and I think Archie can be honest in his intentions. I don't know if he's always honest in the current state of where they are and getting to those intentions. But I think that every coach is optimistic. Every team is optimistic at this point in the season, and even through the non-conference season. But then when it gets to Big Ten play, everything splits up, and it's always the same every year. You're always getting optimistic coach speak at this point. And yeah, most of them are honest, but I think it's mostly just a way to get familiar with the personalities, familiar with the direction of the programs, and you can kind of read between the lines on those things.
Absolutely. In Indiana's case this year, they're a team that on paper, they look a little better, not from a point standpoint. Obviously, you lose Romeo Langford, your top scorer. You lose Juwan Morgan, one of your 4-year players. But they replaced him with some pretty solid guys and a more solidified team, I would think. But this team has been selected by virtually everybody to finish 10th or worse in the Big Ten. That's not a good place for Indiana basketball.
I think when you take a step back and you kind of look at the big picture, I don't think the Big Ten is going to be as strong this year. But I think, when you look at Indiana specifically, I think the biggest question mark is their offense. And when you lose Juwan Morgan and you lose Romeo Langford, you don't necessarily replace them with guys of those same names. Those people grew familiar around the Big Ten with Juwan Morgan, and everybody knew Romeo Langford. But when you lose guys like that and you don't replace them with similar guys or popular guys, there's going to be a natural dip in the preseason polls. But I think he's gaining more confidence in the offense. It's kind of the system that he has intended to put in place since he got here, and it's kind of becoming, it's kind of bubbling to the surface a little bit. And once that youth really takes over, they can get on the field or get on the court. I think it's going to work in their favor. But yeah, I think these preseason polls don't have people very happy. But I mean, that's just how it's going to be when you lose two guys like that.
And a lot of that this is a national media polls, and these are guys that I'm not saying they don't know what they're talking about, but they're not as in tune to each individual school. And Indiana is one of those. I don't think that they're watching close, but I think part of this is they watch Archie struggle as a coach especially last year. You lose 12 in a row with a talent, with a number one draft pick on your roster. There's going to be some questions. And so I think part of this is directed at Archie.
Yeah. I mean, when you see shaky ground within a program, it's not promising. You're not going to want to put a lot of preseason stake in that. So I mean, a lot of ESPN guys, not even just ESPN guys, but national guys, they don't want to be the one that picks Indiana to do well, and then Indiana doesn't do well, and then you fall into that group where everybody's looking at you, and yeah, I think once one person sets the standard, then other people are going to go off of that standard. I think that's kind of what happened with these preseason polls.
Absolutely. And what kind of pressure is Archie under, you think, to perform this year? I mean, to get back to the tournament. Indiana's missed it the last 3 years in a row. That's not acceptable in Indiana. And you can make some excuses the first 2 years, but year 3, it's time to dance.
Yeah, no. He's under quite a bit. I mean, he even said that in his media day. He said, as a staff, they understand the pressure that they're under, and this year specifically. And it's one of those things where at Indiana, you're kind of expected to get to this tournament, and you like you said, you can get a little bit of slack your first couple of years, but that third year, your system is starting to get into place, and once the guys from the Tom Crean era start filtering out, I think the only two left are really Deron Davis and Devontae Green. So once those guys leave, then it's all Archie Miller, and it's what he's done with the program. And if you don't make the tournament this year or even next year, it's you're in hot water.
Yeah, you look at programs like Ohio State that has Chris Holtmann, who came from Butler. You look at Louisville, who has Chris Mack, who came from Xavier, who they're both doing well. Not only are they doing well, Chris Mack is killing it recruiting-wise. They're a top 10 team preseason, and they came from the near depths from the coaching change of Rick Pitino. That program was in the tank for a minute. So there's a lot of comparisons going on to some peers there, and it's Indiana is a program that is expected to be in the tournament every year, and when you don't get that, you have an unhappy fan base.
I mean, you're 100% right with the comparison to the nearby teams. I mean, Ohio State getting Chris Holtmann was always going to be a great coach. Chris Mack was fantastic at Xavier, and it's not all that surprising that he's doing what he's doing at Louisville, except the things that the cloud that is above Louisville, that makes it a little bit harder. But Archie's gonna. I think Archie's gonna have some time, but I do think that the pressure does go up if you don't make the tournament this season.
Absolutely. We're coming to you from the Rosemont Hilton in Chicago for Basketball Media Day for the Big Ten. I'm sitting here talking with Taylor Lehman from thehoosier.com and Indiana Rivals. How's that been going? You've been there for a couple months now. Are you enjoying that?
Yeah, it's nice.
be a
over
dream
from-
job. You get to come back to Indiana.
Yeah. I mean, I went to school here, graduated 2018, and just finished up at 11 Warriors covering Ohio State recruiting, and that over there was insane. Just kind of
I was going to say, what was that like? Because you're leaving a school that had a great basketball passion, but man, you want to talk about football passion? Ohio State, the Buckeyes, they have it, and the 11 Warriors strictly covered football.
Yeah.
That's got to be a fun time.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of work. There were some really good reporters over there, but seeing the passion for that and what is expected of us in the media there, it was easy to carry over to Indiana. And when it comes to it was kind of weird because coming over here, I came over here. My first day was week 1 in Indianapolis, and everybody was gearing up for football season at Ohio State. But football isn't necessarily as popular in Indiana, so I was really geared up for the football season, and I'm like, all right, let's go. And then everybody else is like, all right, we're still waiting for basketball season.
Well, at least last Saturday had to be fun.
Yeah.
Up in East Lansing, you were up there as well. We were both up there. Man, what a tough loss for Indiana, Tom Allen and that crew. But man, it's sure you can see there's good things coming.
Oh yeah. Oh, I mean, the offensive game plan they had was really interesting. And Tom Allen kind of hinted at it too during the week, but where they didn't run the ball directly at them. They wanted to avoid the front seven as much as possible, so they just basically threw it out the numbers, got them in space, and that's how Mike Penix was able to be so efficient. I mean, the thing is, when it comes to the difference between Mike Penix and Peyton Ramsey in this offense is that you want to get the ball in space as quickly as possible, and Penix just has a much stronger arm than Peyton Ramsey, and it was obvious. I mean, there was one play specifically I saw where Walt Villier caught a ball, and he actually had time to look at a defender and identify how he was going to get around that defender, and then got like 10 extra yards. And that's something that Peyton Ramsey wouldn't have allowed for him.
Absolutely. His completion percentage right now is unbelievable. It's higher than Peyton Ramsey, and that's hard to believe because Peyton Ramsey is currently the record holder right now for Indiana. But Michael Penix is even exceeding that, but he's exceeding it by also throwing downfield. So he's mixing in some more difficult passes. So, man, and the kid, a redshirt freshman, wow. All you can think of is wow. Because, he came close to beating that record of 20 straight passes that he completed. He actually completed 22. The pass that broke the string was caught by Ty Freifogel, but he was out of bounds. The very next pass goes to Donovan Hale for a touchdown, which would have been the 22nd pass, which I know it didn't count that way. But, looking forward to that. Outstanding. Back to basketball. This Saturday is Hoosier Hysteria. Indiana's got some guys coming in. Of course, you've got Trey Galloway and Anthony Leal, who are already committed to Indiana. But Christian Lander is a huge recruit that Archie is chasing. He's been chasing the point guard for 2 years without luck. But now Christian's a point guard in the 2021 class. But to me, that is a recruit that he absolutely has to get. There's I don't think if you don't get that guy, you're in trouble, to me, recruiting wise.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, point guards are so, I think Indiana fans are used to seeing it, but teams with good point guards are successful in the Big Ten. The floor is very high for teams with really good point guards. And I think when you lose, Rob Venice, he's a good point guard. I think he's going to be a great point guard. But Christian Lander is he's one of those special talents, and
he can score the ball as well as run that ball.
Exactly, and I think that's kind of where I think the scoring with Rob is, that's kind of not really there. But I do think with Christian Lander, he offers a whole different dimension that Rob wouldn't necessarily offer.
And Rob can score because we saw him in high school. He put up some great numbers.
Right.
But in this system of Archie's, it's just I'm still trying to grasp, I'll be honest with you. After going into the third season, I don't know what this offensive system is, and now they're changing it to have more ball motion, which is fine, but I'm like, I never understood what they were doing to begin with.
Right.
And I think a lot of people have that same problem.
Yeah, it's kind of like he talked about wanting to be more multiple on offense. He wants more guys that have more versatile skill sets. They can do a bunch of different things, and they can be like 6'6" through 6'9" and play 4 different positions. But once you get into that ground, it starts to become difficult to identify what the offense actually does, and I think that makes it difficult for defenses, sure, but it also makes it difficult for fans to understand what their offense, like who the go-to guy is, like just different things like that. Obviously Devontae Green's going to be one of those guys, but I mean, when you're looking at, when guys can do several different things in an offense, it can sometimes get a little confusing as to what the offense can actually do until you see it in Big Ten play.
Taylor Lehman from Indiana Rivals, thehoosier.com. I can't thank you enough, man. I've kept you long enough. Go back in and listen to all the boring speeches that are going to be taking place.
Yeah, the Jim Delaney one was interesting, but yeah, we'll see how the coaches fare.
That was his last one, but appreciate it, brother. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Taylor Lehman joining us from Indiana Rivals of thehoosier.com. We've got a lot more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat. We're coming to you from the Rosemont Hilton in Chicago, live from the Big Ten Men's Basketball Media Day. We've got Mike DeCourcy coming up from the Sporting News. He'll be joining us in the next segment, so stay tuned. We'll be back with more from the Rosemont Hilton in Chicago. Jim Coyle, Indiana Sports Beat, back with more after this.
Be a leader, but if you can't be a leader, make sure your leader is a damn good teacher. And imagine if you was a car and life was a race. If somebody was holding you back, then you would have to give them some space. Put the pedal to the metal and match out low. But make sure you stay in your lane.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lord, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day, or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
This is James Blackman Jr., former Indiana Hoosier. Make sure you're keeping up with the Hoosiers on Indiana Sports Beat.
Today's guest is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, with hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer. Pizza, burgers, beer. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you live from the Rosemont Hilton in Chicago. side of the 2019 Big Ten Men's Basketball Media Day. Hope you're enjoying this hump day as we watch Coach Tom Izzo is about to sit down with the radio group next door to us as the men's basketball coaches are going by and all the participants in this year's Media Day happening. Kind of weird doing a broadcast next to a Hall of Fame coach, but that's where we are today. Hope you're having a good time. Mike DeCourcy is expected to be joining us from the Sporting News here. If we can get him out of the breakouts in there. A lot of the coaches are all speaking right now. They're up on the dais, and they have a couple of minutes to speak to the the media out there. Then there's breakout sessions where the players and the coaches will individually break out into smaller sections where they meet with the individual media. And that's a better time for us to actually get more time with both the players and the coaches, and not just Indiana. Obviously, we were able to talk to all the coaches from the league as Fred Hoiberg from Nebraska goes by, Fran McCaffrey from Iowa going by. So just a full load up here in Chicago right now for the men's basketball media day. Tom Izzo from Michigan State is sitting right next to us doing a radio interview. So there's just a lot going on, man, up here. And hopefully Mike will be joining us here in a second. I just texted him. He probably can't get the message in there. A lot going on. But also on the program today, Dustin DePirick from The Athletic is going to join us. That's probably going to be in the next hour. As we're coming to you live from the Rosemont Hilton in Chicago from Big Ten Men's Basketball. Indiana, one of the teams that's not picked to do well by the national media thus far. I think 10th is about the best that I've seen them selected. But again, as I was talking to Taylor Lehman earlier, that's from a group that doesn't really follow Indiana. I'm not saying that they're going to contend for the Big Ten championship, which I thought that about that team last year, that they could. I don't think that in any way about this team. And it's not that they're not decent. It's just that I think the firm realistic goal is for them to just make the tournament. And when they're selected as far down as they are by so many people, it makes you think, it makes you wonder why. They have a pretty good amount of talent on that team. Yeah, you lost Romeo Langford, one of your top scorers, and you lost Juwan Morgan, one of your top 4-year players. But they also have got some good replacements coming in, and Joey Brunk, who is not a rookie. He's got 2 years under his belt of playing at the big time D1 level. Played against Indiana, as a matter of fact, last season. And hopefully adding some bulk and some weight and his size will help Indiana tremendously, not only defensively, but offensively, which is where they struggled a lot last year, because last year's offense, I don't know that they had an offense, to be honest with you. It was mainly when Romeo had the ball, it was scoring and let him score, get to the rack, or get fouled. Shooting was not a part of the offense, so I really can't tell you exactly what that offense was. As the Illinois players go by, they're in full uniform. That's what's so weird about this. You're watching these players go by, and they're all in uniform as we're walking through the hotel hallway. So it's a little strange to look up and just see 3 Illinois uniforms go by. But looking forward to that. Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News sitting in with us now. So happy to have you with us, Mike. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. How are you today?
Good. Of course, coming to you from the Big Ten Men's Basketball Media Days. It's the sign of the new season is here, man.
Earlier than I think ever. There's some calendar issues that have us out here earlier than we ordinarily would. And so we have to sort of turn our brains onto basketball. Obviously, gentlemen like Archie Miller and Tom Izzo and Matt Painter have never turned theirs off. So that's a thing. But I'm excited about this Big Ten basketball season. I think it's going to be very compelling. They're probably not quite as strong as a year ago, but I don't know that a year ago we walked into the season expecting it to be what it became. So maybe it'll surprise us again.
Yeah, it was pretty strong last year. It was, like you said, I think it was stronger than most of us thought it could be. There were a lot of good teams. And then this year, you've got a lot of question marks. Indiana's one of those question marks. We don't know where they're going to end up. They lost a lot in Romeo Langford and Juan Morgan. Then you've got some guys that are coming in like Joey Bronk, who he's not a rookie, but he's new to this team.
Yeah, I saw Joey a lot. I live in Indy, and I saw him play for Purdue. Excuse me, for Butler, and I saw a player who was really talented and who just didn't quite ever hit the gear that he needed to hit on a consistent basis. And so that's a challenge for Archie to get everything out of Joey that is in there. Now, I understand Joey went through a lot during his college career. I mean, and that may be a lot of why it never quite clicked for him at Butler in the way that his skill would support. He had a really rough time with his father passing and all of that. And, I went through that at a slightly older age, and that is brutal. And so for him to get a fresh start, he's got great skill, really great skill around the bucket, and gives in between him and Deron Davis. There's a minimum of 40 great post minutes there. And if you can find a way to play them together, then you have a dual threat as well.
Yeah, and Indiana is a team that has, like I said, a lot of new faces coming in, but Archie Miller's got some pressure because they haven't made the tournament the last couple of years, and Indiana fans want to see their teams in the tournament. So that kind of mitigates that early honeymoon quickly.
Yeah, I think he's actually under too much pressure, and I realize Indiana is a special program, but if you want Indiana to, there's the reason that things changed was that people wanted Indiana basketball to be Indiana basketball again, that they wanted the Hoosiers to be reconnected to the state in a way that they'd been detached for, almost 20 years. They wanted the reconnection. Well, he's doing that. But if you get that, then you have to gradually evolve through younger players into veteran players. Last year was his first full class. Some of those players were injured. Rob Finney had a really fine freshman year, but he's not a dominant player. He's not physically going to come in and overwhelm. Romeo came in and certainly was very talented, but was injured and never quite gelled in the way that people anticipated. So now, essentially, his first group of players are sophomores. They have to be given a chance to mature. If you want him to just patch players on and to not build that recruiting base back, I suppose they could do it quicker. But that he understands that that's not the sustaining model that Indiana needs to become Indiana again. So I've seen some of my colleagues put him. I hate hot seat lists anyway. I'll never do one. They're appalling to me. And I've seen his name on some of those lists and mentioned in that capacity. I don't think those things are reasonable anyway. But I don't think that his inclusion on that is reasonable even if you're going to allow that those things exist.
And unfortunately, isn't that a sign of society of just everybody wanting everything now how they want it to be as quickly as they want it?
I guess, I do think what is different now about college basketball recruiting is that it is accelerated, and it's been this way for the last 15 years or so, and people still don't accept it. We want a new coach. Okay, you got a new coach. That means you've got to wait more than you can't expect them to bring in many new players. Maybe a transfer to a grad transfer that might help you, get through a year. But you're not going to get your talent base built up until really the sophomores that are in place, the high school sophomores that are in place when you hire your coach. If you hired a coach this past March or April, the guys who are sophomores in high school are the ones that you really have a great chance of turning toward your way, because the juniors already have lists and the seniors are almost all, they're almost all committed. So if you're such a hurry to fire your coach, well, you got to understand you're signing up for a little bit of patience. And if things don't get good with Arch by next year, then I understand. Okay, maybe this isn't working, or maybe it's not. It's not quite the right fit or whatever. But if you think it's got to happen now, I just don't think you're understanding the way college basketball is now.
Yeah, it's definitely a program that's being built differently. When you have a different coach, they have a different style of recruiting, a different style of players. Archie's kind of gone back to these Indiana type players that he's filling his rosters with, his foundation, I guess. Trey Galloway and Anthony Leo and Trace Jackson Davis,
right,
for that matter. I mean, those are all Indiana kids, but it's that Midwestern thing and getting back to that. And I think that probably fits Archie's MO a lot better than anything else.
Yeah, I think, look, he's had 2 classes now, 2 full classes. We're into his 3rd. And he's gotten the best Indiana high school player in each of them. And that's a pretty good track record. Now, as I said, Romeo didn't quite work for a lot of different reasons. The team wasn't quite right. He wasn't quite right. And so it didn't work. But Trace is a talented guy. I've seen him a lot. I really like him. I think he's not a perfect player, but he's great basketball instincts. I really like those. I think he's going to be very good, but I don't necessarily expect him to walk in and average 20 and 10. So you have to give him a chance to develop as well.
And it's the way it used to be, growth. Players could come in and they could grow. I mean, I'm sure when Kent Vincent came in, he wasn't expected to guide that team as a freshman. They had guys for that, and it's having that system in order where you have that roster turnover, seniors, juniors, which that's a lot of that has gotten away from that in this modern age, but it's kind of going back there with the one and done kind of going away. A lot of guys seeing that that's not the way that they want to build a program.
Yeah, I do think that when you have a player like a Romeo Langford, if Indiana develops another, and I think they most likely will because it's such an incredible state for basketball. If you get another Romeo Langford, and by that I mean not just his talent but his character, then you have to recruit that guy. You can't you just can't ignore him. Romeo, it didn't quite work the way you wanted it to, but it was you needed to recruit him. You got him. He did good things for you, and he's going to be a good representative of Indiana basketball for as long as he's playing the game.
Mike, up to the Big Ten Media Days, you're a national. You cover it nationally. You cover it for the Big Ten Network. You cover it for the Sporting News. What do you get from these events here when you get all these coaches and all these players in one place?
Well, I think that mostly you get a chance to be immersed in basketball again, and it's full immersion because nearly every good player in the league is here. Not all of them. I'm a little disappointed. I'm not sure why Maryland didn't bring Jalen Smith along. There's a few others that I would like to have seen here, but Ayo Dosunmu here, Cassius Winston here, a chance to get connected with those guys, reconnected in some instances, chance to spend some time with the coaches, chance to meet some coaches. I don't know Jawan Howard. I obviously know of him, and I covered him when he was a player. I've been around long enough for that.
And that's certainly a name that a lot of people want to hear about because he's a big-time name from the Fab 5 days of Michigan and now moving into the coaching ranks. And with Penny Hardaway, what he's done, there's a lot of interest in that.
Oh, absolutely. And it'll be interesting to see how he slides into that role because he's replacing a Titan in John Beilein. And honestly, I wrote a column back when Jawan was Howard saying, look, I'm not saying this is not a solid hire or that it won't work, but he has to beat some pretty long odds. Guys who came from the NBA, and this isn't just former players, but guys who came from the NBA without college experience in coaching. Dunleavy down at Tulane didn't work. A lot of guys like that. The percentages are really low. Chris Mullen just got got moved out at St. John's just this past spring. It hasn't worked for most. Now, Jawan has trained to be a coach, not a college coach, but a coach. He's got great experience in the game. He's got great name recognition. Everybody I've talked to says he's a wonderful guy. So he has to make all of that work for him as a college coach. And I will say that the one guy who in the last 15, 20 years has absolutely made that work, who is a superstar at doing that transition, is in this building, Fred Hoiberg. I just heard him speak. Fred Hoiberg is the one smashing success of a guy who was a former player, former NBA guy, who never coached in college and yet walked in at Iowa State and did a phenomenal job. So I don't know if he'll be giving any of his secrets over to Jawan, but I'll tell you what, Jawan did one thing that Fred did. When Fred went to Iowa State, the first thing he did was he hired Bobby Lutz, the former Charlotte 49ers coach, basically to teach him how to be a college coach. How does a program run? And Phil Martelli got let go by St. John's after a lifetime there, and Jawan snatched him right up. Great hire. So at least, he's doing the smart things that Freddie did 7-8 years ago at Iowa State.
Sounds great. Mike, appreciate you joining us, man. Thank you so much for taking time. Look forward to seeing you throughout the year.
Always a pleasure. Look forward to talking to you again.
Absolutely. Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News and the Big Ten Network joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radios. We're coming to you live from the Rosemont Hilton from Big Ten Men's Basketball Media Days. We'll be back with more right after this. Dustin DePerrick from The Athletic is on with us next. If you're leaving us for the radio hour, appreciate you. And until I see you again, I'll see you on the radio.
How are you?
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moyes.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lord, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day, or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Hey, this is Jordan Halls, former Indiana Hoosier. Keep up with Indiana sports on Indiana Sports Beat.
Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little banging
on along and welcome aboard Indiana Sports Beat Radio, of course, coming to you from the Rosemont Hilton in Chicago as we're coming to you live from the Big Ten Men's Basketball Media Day. Thanks a lot for joining us here. Already talked to Mike DeCourcy. Before that, Taylor Lehman from Indiana Rivals. Now we're fortunate to be joined by Dustin DePirick from The Athletic. Dustin, how are you, brother?
Doing good. Thanks for having me as always, Jim.
Man, I love having you on as always, especially up here. A lot going on. We were talking off the air. It's hilarious. I've said it before. We're sitting next to Tom Izzo 1 second. Fred Hoiberg's walking by. You got players walking by in their uniforms, but so much going on up here, man. It's the official start of college basketball for us.
Yeah, no, it's wild because obviously this is way early for Big Ten Media Day. We're used to having it somewhere around the end of October, right around World Series time is usually when we get together for this. So it's kind of kicking it off a little early. But yeah, no, it's always cool to have an event like this where you kind of bring the entire league to a hotel in Rosemont, Illinois by the airport and decide, have all these people that are going to be so important in just shaping the way the college basketball season goes, and they're just walking past you in the middle of a hotel.
Last year, the Big Ten had a pretty daggone good season, lots of good teams. This year, I think there's a lot of questions in the league. Indiana is one of those big questions.
Oh, sure.
A lot of people have been pegged down to the bottom third of the conference, which that's not going to make Hoosier fans happy. But
it is not.
I'm not sure that's where they're going to end up. I don't have a gauge on this team just yet.
Yeah, no, I mean, as far as the league is concerned, I mean, like you said, I think it's basically Michigan State and everybody else, and you have this sort of I guess you would say second tier. I mean, everybody thinks Michigan State's going to run away with this thing and possibly win the whole, win the national title. And then you sort of have this next sort of realm of, everybody kind of looks at Maryland and Ohio State and figures maybe they're both up for a big leap because there's some talent on both of those teams. And then you just have this presumption that Purdue's going to be good because they have a lot of guys coming back, even though they don't have Carson Edwards and Ryan Klein. But you get past that point and everyone's like, okay, what now? Who's next? Is Illinois going to be good? Is Michigan going to be good? What to make of Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Indiana is another one of those schools. You're just like, okay, what are they going to be? Who are they going to be? And there's a lot of questions. I think obviously there's a ceiling on this team that can be pretty high if Jerome Hunter is a guy that can play 25, 30 minutes and is everything that everybody hoped he was going to be when he came out. Again, maybe they've got a shot. If he's limited because of the leg condition, again, which is still not really been fully explained to anybody, then, it's hard to say how good is Trace Jackson Davis going to be? How good are you if Devontae Green has to be one of your most important scorers? There's huge questions about this team. Certainly no one's going to be happy if they finish 10th or 11th in the league. But I could see a whole range of outcomes for this IU team. I have no concept of where to even guess. I picked them 10th in our official Big Ten media poll. And it could be anywhere. I could see them being, 10th or 11th. I could see them being 5th or 6th.
And with that, having such an unknown this year, with that, especially Jerome or Mr. Hunter, he's a guy that was the second biggest recruit in that class. And it's like, wow, not even getting to see that. That's got to be a real big thing for Archie because he was counting on that guy. But I hate it for the player because I saw him play in high school. He was a pretty good player.
Yeah. No, I mean, just from talking to his high school coaches, I just did a story on him. I guess it was last week now. But basically, he can do everything. He was a kid that was this big, gawky, gangly kid as an 8th and 9th grader who could just play block to block because he was just that tallest guy on his team, and they just made him a really versatile inside-outside guy. He's never lost that ability to score in the post, so has really good footwork and good touch around the bucket, but can hit threes, with regularity, and that's certainly something they missed a ton last year, having a 6'8" guy that can drill it from the perimeter and can handle it out there and can defend just about every position. All of those things were stuff that would have really helped Indiana, would have really changed the course of that season if you have him around. It's tough to figure out because this thing has been so mysterious. Nobody's talked about it. Just talking to his high school coaches, they said they don't even have a real explanation for what it is. So it's not like a, injured knee or a broken leg or something like that where you've seen enough of them following, basketball, football, sports, whatever, you're having an idea of how long that takes for somebody to get back and what the limitations are and stuff like that. Have a general concept of how, a path of how these recoveries go. We don't know what he's recovering from. We really don't. So we don't know what that looks like. Obviously they pointed out that he has been cleared, for practice, for all basketball activities, but he's going to be monitored. So what does that mean? Does that mean he's on a minute count? Does he have a pitch count? And how long does that go? Is that through November, December till he gets his legs back? Or is that an all season rest of his career thing where he's always going to have to be monitored and always going to have to be told, hey, you're exerting yourself too much. Like, this is a problem. You're going to have issues, because we literally don't know what he's looking at. So it's very difficult to tell. It's a total wild card to know, okay, what he's going to be able to contribute and for how many minutes.
Yeah, and then Indiana's a team, and obviously last year they had an unbelievable bad run of luck as far as injuries go.
Sure.
And it really hurt them from a depth standpoint. Now you go into the season, you're already one short to begin with.
Right.
Now you've got a guy that you don't know what you're going to get with that, and you haven't had the first injury. Not that I hope that doesn't happen, but it's usually kind of the course of how it goes out.
Somebody's going to get hurt at some point.
So
in time,
now you're like, golly, this team is so susceptible to taking an injury ding.
Yeah, you lose one or two guys. I mean, there is some depth on this team. I think there's overall a little bit more depth maybe than they had last year at certain spots, but one or two injuries gets rid of it really fast. And also, I mean, they can't lose a top line player. They can't, there's basically 6 or 7 guys you could say are their top line that if they lose one of them, they're in trouble. And Hunter's certainly one of those guys that if he's limited, the ceiling for them comes down a lot.
And Archie is really, I think, yet to put his thumbprint on this program with how the play is. I mean, I know he's defensively minded, but you really can't get a sense of, all right, what are Archie Miller teams, what are they like? I can't tell you other than defensively.
No, you're right. And they can't, you haven't seen what that really looks like when you get these guys all together, playing the same way. Like, they haven't had a group that's had some time to gel together. I mean, you look at last year, if you have Hunter, maybe you see that, maybe you start to see that, but you lose your 2 best players from last year's team. This team's got to be different than last year's team. It's a clear personnel change. And last year was a clear personnel change from the year before. So there hasn't been any time to set any kind of foundation or opportunity. There's just been too many moving parts, too many guys getting hurt, too many guys graduating or leaving. I mean, there just has not been an opportunity yet for him to have the ability to build something real that you could say, like, this is a foundation, this is what they're going to look like. And, I think you're already hearing in terms of how they're going to play differently offensively, that this team is going to and has to look a lot different than it did last year. I mean, they're really trying to emphasize, off the ball movement with this group. And, there wasn't a lot of that last year. And that's certainly an issue. I don't know if they would have been a whole lot better because, I think as far as moving around the perimeter, teams were giving them those shots. Basically saying, hey, I dare you to go take that elbow 3 because I would rather just pack my guys in here and say, Romeo Langford's not beating me off the dribble and Juwan Morgan's not going to get an easy look. I'll let you take your threes all day. You can move around in circles as much as you want. Really didn't matter whether they were standing around the perimeter or running around the perimeter. They were getting looks and they weren't hitting them. So does that look different? Is it a different group if you got Hunter making threes and if you're saying that Devontae Green's not going to be a guy you try to minimize, but a guy you try to maximize, and a guy you look to get shots and design the offense around making sure he gets an opportunity. That's a different look. So you're going to see something that's a lot different from last year.
And then there are guys that have, I think that this team needs them to produce that. Demezy Anderson, Race Thompson, guys that they've been in the fold, they've been in the system. Now it's time for them to, all right, what can you do? Obviously, Race had a horrible head injury last year he had to deal with. But Demezy, it's time for him to come along as well to contribute to this team.
Yeah, no, I mean, you like, no one's going to say it this way, but I think you almost got to look like it's now or never for Demezy. Like, if Demezy doesn't produce this year, I don't think Demezy will be on next year's roster. Nobody obviously has said that, but look, you've seen enough guys, come in and come out and who leaves and who doesn't. If they can't, look, he's a 6'7" guy who can hit threes. They needed that last year and they still didn't trust him enough to play him. So that tells you, obviously, when I talked to Archie Miller earlier this season for the state of the program piece, he just mentioned, you got to be able to trust him making decisions. You got to be able to trust him to play defense and know where he's supposed to be. He had the physical skills that they needed last year desperately. And Archie still didn't want to put him on the floor because he was such a liability on all those other different areas. So if he doesn't step in, hit shots, do the right things when he has the ball in his hand and can't defend, after 2 years, I just don't see how he has a spot going forward, because they've got a lot of wings coming in next year who can do those things. You know, Anthony Leal, Trey Galloway, Jordan Geronimo are all guys who can hit shots and defend. So, you know, if Demezy Anderson can't prove after 2 years that he can do all the little things and hit shots, I don't think he's part of this program next year. So it's really critical for him, or else he's probably going someplace else. And they could use his scholarship. They could absolutely use his scholarship. So he has to prove himself, both to make Indiana better, but also just to make sure that he doesn't have to move next year. I would say, again, like, I don't know that from any, but writing on the wall.
Common sense tells you.
Yeah, writing on the wall. I mean, look at it. It's
Dustin Perrick, I can't thank you enough, brother.
Absolutely.
Back in here. I know you can't wait to hear some of those boring speeches. Right?
Can't wait.
Dustin Perrick from the
Thanks so much,
Athletic.
Jim.
You can't thank you enough. As always, we appreciate you.
Thank you.
You bet. There's Dustin Perrick from the Athletic joining us. We've got lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat. Thank you, Dustin. We're coming to you from the Rosemont Hilton in Chicago from the Big Ten Men's Basketball Media Day. I think that next up we're going to have Iowa coach Fran McCaffrey. So stay tuned. We got lots more coming up. We'll be back with more right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moyes.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
You're on the line with Jamal Meeks, former Indiana Hoosier, number 23, 1992. And I'm on the beat with Jim Coyle.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Of course, coming to you from the Rosemont Hilton in Chicago side of the Big Ten Men's Basketball Media Day. Very fortunate to be joined by Iowa head coach Fran McCaffrey. Coach, thank you so much for joining us.
Good to be with you.
You guys have done quite well recruiting in the state of Indiana, as a matter of fact, in the last couple of years. There's Newberg, Nunley, Nungy's big 6'10" shooter down there, and you guys have done well.
Indiana, obviously. I mean, I spent 11 years at Notre Dame, so Indiana's loaded with really talented players, but they're obviously going to be tremendously well coached. So who is anybody to try to recruit players out of that state? We're thrilled to have Jack, really versatile, talented. You watch him play sometimes, you don't realize he's 6'11" because he can dribble, pass, shoot. He moves so well, really understands the game. Now he's 250, so he's going inside and dunking in traffic and blasting guys with little jump hooks with the shoulder and stuff like that. So we're thrilled for him, and we're thrilled to have him.
Yeah, I was out there at Iowa last year for the Indiana game. I was looking over your roster, and you're really building it kind of like the old Bob Knight style. A lot of Midwestern guys, solid players. Some of your sons, you get some great players in your family as well. But really a great foundation that you're building that program with.
Well, I think when you're coaching in the Big Ten, you're going to recruit the Midwest. Those kids want to play in the Big Ten. That's their wheelhouse. That's what they watch on TV. That's what they grew up watching. That's what their fathers watched, their grandfathers watched. And it's a different feel when you recruit a kid in the Midwest than you recruit a kid from the East or West Coast and start talking about the Big Ten. So that's how we're going to build it. It's worked for us. And, we're just thankful that there's so much talent in the Midwest to choose from.
I know you got to get out of here to get in there to speak. What are you expecting from the Hawkeyes this season?
I really like our team. The league is the best it's been, in my opinion, top to bottom. So incredible challenge every day. But we have size. We have depth. We're much more solid and deep in the backcourt than we've been in a long time. And I think that's very important, especially in this conference.
Coach, I appreciate you.
Hey, my pleasure.
You for taking the time.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you. Good luck this season. Thank you very much. That's Iowa coach Fran McCaffrey joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat. Coming to you, of course, from the Men's Basketball Media Day here in Chicago from the Rosemont Hilton. We're going to see if we can get Juwan. He's with us. He's sitting down next door as well. Juwan from the Michigan basketball team. How about that, Juwan Howard? There's all kinds of stuff going on up here right now today. All the coaches, all the players here in Chicago. Sat down with Taylor Lehman earlier from Indiana Rivals, the Hoosier.com. Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News was with us earlier. Dustin DePirick just got off, and Dustin loved what he had to say. A lot of solid things, some things that people are not going to like to hear, but they're the truthful. And there's a reckoning coming, I think, for this program after this season. I think that they have to have some success. But the national media is not seeing Indiana as a team that is going to be a force in this Big Ten this year when you play some 10th or worse. But I'm not quite certain that that's the reality of this team. I think they're better than that. I think you have a lot of guys that aren't around the program as much, and they're just going off of things that they've seen previously. But as we're watching Maryland's coach go by now, Turgeon, just a lot of action going on here in the foyer at the Rosemont Hilton. But the Big Ten Conference itself, there's a lot of question marks. Like I said, you got some new news. You got new coaches. You got Fred Hoiberg over in Nebraska now, and Juwan Howard at what's that? Yes, Juwan Howard at Michigan. So some new faces, new recruiting. That is going to new recruiting blood that's going into this league. We just talked to Fran McCaffrey from Iowa. He's done a great job recruiting this Midwest. And if you look at their roster, they're built of those kind of teams. They look like, honestly, they look like Indiana looked 25 years ago, which was not a bad thing. Those were all solid players from the Midwest. Like Fred said, that they want to play in the Big Ten. But these are solid, good coached players. They come from good high school programs, and I think that Indiana may have gotten away from that for a while. That was unfortunate, but but hopefully they're getting back there. Archie Miller has kind of turned his sights back in that direction with the recruitment of kids like Trey Galloway and Anthony Leal, Trace Jackson Davis. Of course, one of their number one target for next season is Christian Lander from Evansville Rights. So they're trying to get back to that. There's just not that mix of other elite talent that I think that is needed to really push this program back into that stratosphere of uber success where they had lived for so long in the past. And it's not that it can't be there again. It can be. You just have to have that mix because Indiana as a state is going to produce the same amount of great talent year in, year out. That's just a fact. There's just not a year that there's just not going to be good players. Now, you're going to have years where you have better players than others. This particular season is an okay year for Indiana high school basketball for talent-wise. But then you go back to next year where you have another 5-star, where last year you had 2 5-stars in Trace Jackson and Keon Brooks. But they're always going to be full of 4-star talent, and it is right now. And I think that you have to have a complete mix of that at all times. You have to have a roster that has gotten that solid, good coach talent and a great mix with that. But a lot going on up here right now as now we're looking at more head coaches as they walk by for Illinois. So it's just a parade of folks here in Chicago at the Rosemont Hilton side of the men's Big Ten basketball media days going on right now. Waiting for a couple more guests to come out as we're in this second hour. Thank goodness we're already done with the radio hour, so it's not as important. We can take breaks whenever we want, do whatever we want. Right, Jake?
Yes, total freedom.
Whew, it's good to take a break. I tell you, I'll be honest with you. I wish I had somebody else. I'm tired of talking. It's like being a traffic cop and an air traffic controller at the same time while you're on the air when you do these things. It's crazy. I mean, you've got the guys that are walking by that you're trying to get or get your guests that you've already got set up, and they're in a different room that you can't see and you can't talk to them, but you've got to try to text them and say, "Hey, man, you're up next. Come on out." But yeah, it's always fun no matter what. But we're going to take another quick break, and if we can get Juwan Howard on next, we will. And if not, we won't. But we'll just keep at it. We'll be back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you live from the Rosemont Hilton in Chicago, side of the Big Ten Men's Basketball Media Day. Back with more right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day, or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
This is James Blackman Jr., former Indiana Hoosier. Make sure you're keeping up with the Hoosiers on Indiana Sports Beat.
Today's guest is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, with hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer. Pizza, burgers, beer. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville.
Coming back to smells of baked chicken and some hash browns. Defend my city like I'm optimist. Making decisions spur of the moment like I changed my name to Popovich. Alabama born and raised, don't ever get it questioned. When football is bigger than elections.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, of course, coming to you from the Rosemont Hilton in Chicago side of the Big Ten Men's Basketball Media Day festivities going on. Joined now by Nick Baumgart from the Hoosier Insider and Indiana Rivals. Nick, how are you, man?
I'm doing well, sir. I'm just taking in here. I'm rubbing elbows here. We're sitting next to Juwan Howard, and Coach Izzo just walked by.
Yeah, it's a surreal deal, as I said. It's just like a constant parade of all things Big Ten basketball right now, and just got done talking to Fran McCaffrey, from the head coach of Iowa, was sitting in with us a minute ago. Tom Izzo was on earlier, next door to us. Juwan Howard right next door now. So much going on. A lot of the Big Ten's basketball season is underway, basically. This gets it underway. It's a little earlier than normal, but not as much spark for the conference here as a whole, I think, team-wise, as in years, as last year especially.
Yeah, there's not as much firepower, but, certainly when you hear these guys talk about their improvements on their teams and who's looking better, and it gets you going, kind of gets you excited. I was listening to Mark Turgeon talk about the Terps, and, Ricky Lindo put on 30 pounds, and that was kind of, for me, kind of the weakness there on their team. And so that was, so it's just kind of fun to hear those things and kind of get caught up on all that. It's just, being here, there's just an energy and an excitement. So,
yeah, it's a lot going on, like I said, and you hear all these coaches talk, and I don't know how much you can really. Some of them are bluntly honest, but then others you get a lot of coach speak, so you don't really know who's what and who to expect from what. But there's no doubt, I think, that Michigan State is the class of this conference this year, as they are many, many years. With Tom Izzo does a great job of keeping that roster at the level that they need to maintain, which is what a good program does. But once again, Michigan State is at the top of the team that people expect to do well this year. There's no reason to think that's not true.
No, they're going to be really good, but there's just a lot of fun things, like Fred Hoiberg's in the conference now, and Hoiberg is a super up-tempo, up and down, fast-paced coach, and for the Big Ten, that's kind of weird, and kind of different. So, I think that'll give Izzo somewhat of a challenge. Maybe not this year, obviously, but down the road. There's just a lot of change and a lot of things going on right now in the conference. You mentioned Juwan Howard. We have no idea what he's going to look like. What Michigan's going to look like with him. Probably a lot of pro stuff. and I expect them to probably play fast as well. So, just trying to get an idea of what everybody's going to do this year is kind of a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's a perfect point. We have no idea what Michigan's going to look like. It's going to be a total different look than previously. We don't know what offensively or defensively either way. That's one of the fresh faces coming into the Big Ten. So we don't know where they're going to be. It's going to be kind of a secret.
It's going to be a really big challenge for them, and I don't want to say this too loudly, right? Because Coach Howard's way bigger than me, and he's right there. But they were the second best defensive team in the nation last year. That's to come in your first year and replicate that.
But isn't there pressure to maintain that when you have a lot of the same players?
I would expect so, and I mean, especially when you have Xavier Simpson, coming back and he's, right behind Cassius Winston as far as point guards in the Big Ten. Yeah, I mean, I would expect it to be a lot of patience.
Who can challenge Michigan State for that top spot?
Well, I think Maryland is you listen to Coach Turgeon talk, and he was talking about the improvements with Ayala and Wiggins shooting the ball, and Lindo's body, and so I think Maryland's going to challenge. Ohio State's going to be there. They've got a great recruiting class. Caleb Blessing's back, Potter's back, and hold on a second,
No, you're good.
Okay, I didn't know if I was going to get the boot or not.
Bumped
and I think, I thought I was going to go B team again, second time in 2 days. But I guess I can stay.
You got to go with the flow when you're up here at these things, man. You never know who's coming in.
But and I think people don't want to hear it, but it's hard to ever discount Purdue right at this point. Painter's got it rolling, and he's done more with less for a long time. So, I think those teams right there. Everybody really likes Illinois. I don't know.
Illinois is one of those teams that has been building a little bit, coming up, and I've had a lot of people say, "I can't believe there are people talking about Illinois." Man, they've been recruiting. They've been recruiting underneath and coming up. He's got a 5-star on that roster that I think he landed last year. Brad Underwood,
I would assume. Yeah. No, he's incredible. Isle's an incredible talent. I mean, I would put him in my top 5 at I put him in my preseason, I don't know, 5 or 7, 8. There goes Coach Holtman right there. So, I think we're going to see a lot of interesting. The thing with Illinois is they were the 108th best defensive team last year. So, you got to be top 50 to be able to really make any noise in the KenPom efficiency rankings. Historically, that would be a big jump for them to turn it around in 1 year. So, it's going to be an exciting year. I know the star power is not here, but there's some great teams and a lot of fun storylines.
Yeah, and Indiana is a team that is a big question mark. We don't know where they're going to end up. The national media have talked about it's got them put in the bottom third. I don't think that they're quite that bad, but I don't know where they can be because I don't know what they're going to be able to do offensively. It's not the defensive side I'm really that worried about, but I don't know offensively what they can do.
But, it's interesting. I listened to Tom Izzo talk about it. He says in his opening statement he's got question marks. It's like, Coach, how do you have question marks? I think everybody has question marks right now. Nobody really knows. Nobody knows how everybody's going to react to the offseason and that. So, I don't know. It's kind of that time of the year where it's kind of maddening because nobody knows exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, and with Indiana, like I said, offensively, you've got some new faces. Joy Brunk, one of those, not a rookie, but he's a new face of this team with it being a grad transfer from Butler, 6'11", a big guy. That's some size that Indiana hasn't quite had. They've had Deron Davis, but he's not been completely healthy, so you haven't really had that kind of size all the time. It's going to be interesting to see what he can do.
And one other thing that it's more than just the X's and O's now on the court with Joey Brunk. Archie's talked about this fall. It's his personality. That's been his biggest benefit to the team. You think back to the game like at Maryland, and in the second half, Indiana's up 10, right? And Then they get blitzed. The next 5 minutes, they get blitzed 16-0. And there were some questionable shots, and they needed to just score. I think this is that's a situation where Joey Brunk's going to be able to step in and pull the guys together and say, hey, we don't need to be jacking threes. We need to get it inside. Let's get a layup. He's been there. He's done it. He's done it well in the Big East. And so, he's going to help big time. I mean, I think they got beat up a lot. If Juwan Morgan worked his butt off last year, let's face it, he wasn't as big as some of these guys, and he took a beating. And if you think back to that Maryland game, what did Maryland do? Maryland was pounding it inside to Fernando and to Jalen Smith, and that's kind of how they called back into it. So, I think Brunk's going to help in a lot of places on the court and off the court.
How different can this team be if you've got a healthy Deron Davis, who's a big boy, and he shed some weight, but he's still a big dude, man, and he's not afraid to use that weight. And then you have a Joey Brunk who's stronger, who again, now you've got a couple guys with size. You're just not accustomed to having that much size. What can that do to this offense? Because this offense needs all the help it can get from a shooting standpoint. They were not very good last year. Obviously, the only one that shot over 40% behind the arc was Devontae Green. Hopefully he can replicate that, but hopefully he can also be joined by guys. But if you get some guys that can shoot the ball and you have that kind of talent down low, that should make for a much, much better offensive team for this Hoosier team.
Yeah, I mean, I think playing through the post was something they were really good at last year when they did that. Juwan Morgan was obviously a great passer. Deron Davis is an underrated passer. I mean, if you really watch, go back and look at the film on him.
Yeah, he was one of the highest. He had a lot of assists for a big man.
He did, and he's really a skilled, kind of got a funky game, right? Kind of that, some of the moves that he makes, you're kind of like, wow, what? But he's a good passer. And so, I think just playing through him in the post, if you look at what Jalen Smith brought, like Maryland, which I think was around 11.5 points, close to 7 rebounds over 28 minutes. But, Brunk and Davis together, their numbers are better than Jalen Smith's. And so from last year. So, I think as a team, I don't think you're going to have the star power, obviously, that we did last year with maybe one of the better offensive players efficiency-wise that Indiana's ever had in Juwan Morgan and then Romeo Langford. But you got the team parts. And, it's amazing what team basketball can bring you.
One of the things at IU Media Day was talked about Justin Smith when he was on the dais. He talked about he's been working on his three-point shooting to incorporate that into his game. But I'm not sure that he's the guy they need shooting those three-pointers, but it's not something he did really well last year. Of course, if you got a guy that's 6'8" that can shoot three-pointers, that's going to be great because you're going to be drawing some big guys out. But I'm not sure that that's the guy that needs to be shooting perimeter shots.
Not if you can't hit him. You're not going to draw any big guys out. So, I think, the thing with Justin Smith is he's so good around the basket. And I think that's where he obviously his shooting took a step backwards last year. Well, kind of. He was never a great shooter as a freshman. He's about a 20% three-point shooter for his career. But, he wasn't as good around the basket. And so I think mentally, I don't know if his focus was in the right spot. And when you take Justin Smith away from the basket, he has to be such a good three-point shooter to justify him taking any attempts away from the basket, right? And you also take one of your better offensive rebounders away. And Indiana was 200th in offensive rebounding last year. So, that's a concern anytime, So there's lots of things that play here. I think we talked about it the other day. Joe Hillman was a really bad shooter his whole career, and he ended up coming out his senior year, and he made 58% on 42 attempts, whatever. So, if you want hope, there's hope for a turnaround. I illustrated it on Twitter the other day. I thought it was a relatively simple fix. He just needs to stay forward on his shot. We'll see. He's going to – I don't know. Whether it's good or bad, he's going to get the chance to show us if he can shoot threes this year.
You're an X's and O's guy. You played the game. From what we know about this team last year and who's coming back, obviously, like I said, not a very good shooting team, but they've got some other pieces that they've added. What is the best course offensively for this team to take
Obviously, you've got Devontae Green, who can shoot the outside ball. Al Durham, who's been okay at it, and obviously he's probably working at it. I'm not sure where he is. And Demezy Anderson, we don't know if he's got some improvement enough defensively that's going to allow him to be on the court to play. But that's a guy that when he came in, his shooting was one of the biggest attributes that was talked about. Unfortunately, he was too much of a defensive liability last year to stay on the floor. But from what you've seen from this team, which was very little right now, it's just the thinking about what they have. But what do you see their offensively like to be like?
Well, I don't know. We've heard a unique style. We've also heard that Deron Davis and Joey Brunk won't be on the floor that much together, which I'd like to see that. I'd like to see the Twin Towers. I'd like to see that, especially if you're not going to shoot very well. It's a really. But what Indiana has to do is find open set shots, open catch and shoot. Not stuff that's being guarded, not stuff off the dribble. I mean, that's low percentage stuff. And for a team that's trying to find its feet and in shooting, you need to put yourself in the best position possible. Devontae Green might be the only one that's allowed to shoot off the dribble. But, a great place. This whole team was good in transition. It's really hard to argue that they should have ran a little more last year because your two best players were actually better in the half court. But the guys that are coming back, they were all much better in transition. So will we see a faster pace? I don't know. But if you think back to like the Marquette game, they were really good at getting the ball out, and they got a lot of threes in transition, a lot of open threes, a lot of catch and shoot, a lot of easy threes. So we'll see. I would personally like to see the Marquette, that game plan replicated again. Even Brunk and Davis were good up and down.
Trace Jackson Davis, one of the faces coming in. Lots of expected of him, but where's he going to fit in on this offense, on this team? What's his role going to be, do you expect?
Well, I don't know. They said the other day, Archie said the other day that his perimeter shooting would go a long ways as far as, can those big guys play together? Can he defend? Can Trace Jackson Davis defend on the perimeter? So we'll find out. We don't know what kind of defensive player he is. Can he guard a stretch four? Seems like he should. He's super athletic. He's going to help on the offensive boards a ton. And, we'll find out where his shot is. It's
Armand Franklin also coming in as a freshman. I haven't heard a lot about Armand this season, so I'm assuming that's just because he's being expected to just be a freshman, and I don't know how much contribution he's going to be adding this year, if it's just a learning year for him, because you've got a lot of guys in front of him on where he plays. So I don't know how much of a role we can expect from Armand Franklin.
Yeah, complete wild card. I mean, I think he's kind of obviously the forgotten one with Trace Jackson Davis and then Joey Brunk. And then all the shooting woes and all that stuff, that's kind of led to the storyline, and all that. So, but what you're getting is a kid that can play both ways, can shoot the ball, handle the ball, great team guy. And, I think he's going to find his way into the rotation sooner than later. And so
we're going to take a quick break before we wrap things up here from the Rosemont Hilton in Chicago. We're at the Big Ten Men's Basketball Media Day. I'm sitting with Nick Baumgart from Indiana Rivals right now. We'll finish things out when we come back. Stay tuned. Indiana Sports Beat Radio back with more right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett. Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Hey, this is Jordan Halls, former Indiana Hoosier. Keep up with Indiana sports on Indiana Sports Beat.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you from the Rosemont Hilton in Chicago, site of the Big Ten Men's Basketball Media Day. We're about to wrap things up here. I'm sitting with Nick Baumgart from Indiana Rivals, thehoosier.com. I'm Jim Coyle. We're sitting here watching Matt Painter and Bill Raftery have a fun conversation.
With a kiss.
Exactly, with the kiss. A lot has been going on today. We've seen virtually every Big Ten basketball coach, with one exception, Archie Miller from Indiana.
Sir Archie Miller.
Haven't seen the Indiana contingent yet. I think he's last to speak on the main dais before they go out into the breakout sessions. They got here, I think they get here too late for us to have them on, unfortunately. But is that 11:30 Eastern time or Central time?
Yeah, Archie goes on BTN at 11:30 a.m. Eastern, and Al Durham, Devontae Green, and Archie are on at 2:10 p.m.
Oh, so Al Durham came up.
According to this picture that Indiana Basketball just tweeted out, yeah.
Oh, I thought Deron Davis was coming up, but I guess they brought the two captains.
They were going to bring the seniors
yesterday. Or you saw that Al Durham, the junior, was voted one of the captains along with Devontae Green. Not a big surprise there. Al Durham has been a big part of that program. But yeah, they haven't even been by yet, so they're one of the only groups that we haven't seen up here at the Big Ten Media Days thus far. Most of the coaches have already spoken. How they do it is you got the main room and all the coaches speak to the media, to the mass media, for a few minutes. They just give a talk, and then there's some questions and answers from that media group. But then they do breakout sessions where they're in smaller sessions, where it's actually a lot better as far as getting to ask questions and talk to the individual coaches and players. So it goes a lot better in that regard. But other than that, I don't know that there's a lot that you learn up here, Nick. It's just a good time to talk to a lot of people at once is all.
Right. No, you've seen a lot of people. Wisconsin's in the house here. Dimitri Trice is next to us, and Brevin Prinzel. Yeah, it's just. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Kind of depends. And I've never been here before, and so once I get into these breakout sessions, maybe they'll say something or whatever. Been a lot of questions. I know.
What are some of the questions that you have, and who for?
Well, I would love to ask Archie about his defense, about his use of the zone ever. They're primarily 99.9% a man team, 100% a man team. I just like to hear that from an X's and O's standpoint. It'd be just kind of fun to hear that. I don't know. It's my first media day. I want to kind of ease into it here. I don't want to come in too hot, But I'd like to know.
But what are the questions about this Indiana team that aren't being asked that should be being asked?
What's the philosophy as far as shot selection? How does that go?
Why do you think that is such? Because I've been saying this for a while, but I've watched this team for 2 years under Archie. I have no idea what their offensive philosophy is. I have almost zero idea because, number one, it doesn't really seem to have one, and then it changes, and then now it seems like it's changing again.
The thing you'll hear coaches say a lot is you have to have something that you hang your hat on. I don't know that Indiana right now has anything that they hang their hat on. And you can say, oh, well, their defense, but their defense broke down at some key moments, right? And I think back to the Ohio State game at Assembly Hall, and I think back to the Purdue game at Assembly Hall. So, I don't know. I mean, what you hang your hat on is what saves your butt whenever you're in trouble. And so they were in trouble, and the defense didn't bail them out. So I don't know. What do we hang our hat on? I don't know how hard I would go at Archie on that. Just because he, sure he probably does think his defenses. But I mean, I'm just pointing out that there's been some key moments along the way here that it kind of gave out. So, that's just something I'm looking forward to this season is, a tempo pace. What kind of pace are you going to play at? Offensive rebounding, defensive transition philosophy. Indiana was not a good 3-point shooting team last year, right? No secret, no surprise, but they were also a really bad offensive rebounding team. Well, you can get by being a bad 3-point shooting team if you go to the boards. But they didn't. So, and that's a philosophical thing that he believes in the defensive transition. And Indiana's great at it. They were top 20. I want to say 22nd in the country in defensive transition defense last year. Where's the balance, though? Is there a balance point? So, there's just – but this is a new team, so it's kind of hard to ask too much about last year. But I guess that's all we got right now. So,
what are some of the positives that are coming from this team? That obviously Devontae Green finished the year pretty strong shooting wise. He shot well behind the 3-point line. Brad Underwood from Illinois going by now, but they should have some experience, if nothing else, on this team.
Well, you got to think you got a playmaker in place, and Rob Finney, I don't think people understand the fully, right, the ramifications of what he went through with the concussion. And he came back out, finished the year 3-1 assist to turnover ratio. So, I really think you got a playmaker in place. He's going to be a good shooter. He stays healthy. He's my breakout pick in the whole conference. I think he's going to open some eyes this year. We saw what he did against Marcus Howard. Marcus Howard is as good a point guard last year as any, so Matt Painter's a big dude.
Yes, he is.
This is a big guy.
As he goes by, Dave Revson from the BTN going by. He's not a big dude.
He's not at all.
Especially if you're at a basketball function, you're going to see some big guys. But a lot of times the coaches aren't. You look at Archie. You look at Tom Izzo. Matt Painter was a big guy. Bob Knight was a big guy. I remember.
Fran McCaffrey was a pretty big dude.
Fran McCaffrey's a big guy. He was just here. I mean, I'm 6'1", and he's probably 6'3".
Right.
So, yeah, he's so obviously a former player, but Juwan Howard. You got Juwan Howard, who's obviously a big guy. It was here. So a lot of the coaches are towering, but then you got some that don't. But yeah, it's all kinds up here today. It's a great environment.
Right.
It's a great way to get the season kind of underway, really. But the season really starts Saturday for Hoosier fans with Hoosier Hysteria. And don't forget, when you're coming out to that, bring you a bag full of canned goods for that to donate for that cause. But that gets underway at the Simon Scott Assembly Hall on Saturday around 4:30. You got the women's program that's going to be there as well. So your first live look at the team. Probably not going to see a lot. Just some fun things. I'm sure they do the dunk contest and shooting contest for the men and the women. But it's just a good time for Indiana to get out and see these guys. And to see these recruits they're trying to get. Christian Lander, one of the guys they'll have at Hoosier Hysteria. Dawson Garcia is the guy that they're desperately trying to get there on a visit.
Yeah, they're pushing hard.
If they don't get him on this visit, what are the chances of them landing him?
Probably not good. You got to get him on campus. You get him on campus, I think we're in a good place. So we'll find out. It's.
And I've been saying that landing a big man in this class is crucial because if you look 2 years down the road, Deron Davis won't be here. Joey Brunk won't be here. Trace Jackson Davis might not be here. That would be his third season. He could be gone to the NBA. And if that's the case, that would leave Race Thompson as the only big guy currently on the roster. And then you'd be looking at having guys in the 2021 class, which would make them freshmen, which is not how you want to go into a Big Ten season with a front court full of freshmen.
Not ideally. So, and it's interesting. I had talked about this a little bit yesterday at Indiana Rivals, but Indiana's not the only one that needs Dawson Garcia. Richard Pitino's watched a handful of his kids from Minneapolis leave town. And the kids, Dawson Garcia he's a kid that you just kind of dream about when you watch, that lefty with his stroke and the way he can put the ball on the ground and his size. And so he's going to sting for somebody. Somebody's going to get stung here.
Former Ohio State Jim Jackson in the hall now, standing over there talking.
You think they're going to break out a one-on-one? No, they're hugging. I thought they were going to break out in a one-on-one game. But they're going to hug it. They're hugging it out.
Basketball.
No,
so,
well,
can't get that.
Yeah,
A lot of Big Ten. I don't want to say royalty here, but a lot of the pertinent faces of the Big Ten definitely all on display here today. Bill Raftery, I mentioned he's here. Probably my absolute favorite TV analyst, not because he's the greatest analyst. I'm not saying he's good or bad, but just his character on TV. He's awesome, man. I love him.
I think the Big Ten coaches could probably put any other conference coaches in the ground right now, right? Hoiberg, Juwan Howard, put Archie out there.
Are you talking about playing wise?
Yeah.
Izzo would be the coach.
Yeah,
Izzo
okay.
would coach the coaches.
I don't want him on the floor.
Then you got you got Archie at point guard. You got Juwan Howard.
The mayor.
Can you bring Jim Jackson in? He's not a coach, but he's part of the Big Ten.
No. He's the Archie Doppeldinger. All right, yeah, no. Anyway.
Yeah, it sure was. It was an Archie Miller doppelganger. Just walked right by. I swear, it looked just like it.
It's a good time up here, though, and
that's pretty much going to wrap it up for us, man.
Free donuts.
If anything else happens after the fact, we're going to go ahead and continue recording all that's going on because there's so much happening. We'll have it for you for the next broadcast. But man, what a great day it's been already. So much. Thankful for Taylor Lehman for joining us here on the program earlier from Indiana Rivals, your cohort from Indiana Rivals,
My buddy.
Yep. Nick Baumgart, of course, with me right now. Those two guys, both with Indiana rivals. Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News was with us earlier, and Mike's also with BTN, Big Ten Network. Dustin DePirick from The Athletic was on. Brandon McCaffrey, Iowa's head coach, was on. So we've had a great program today. Great day. Unfortunately, couldn't get the Indiana people. They're not even here yet. Haven't seen them, unfortunately. So no Indiana guys today. But if we can get them after the fact for tomorrow's broadcast, we will certainly do that. But we appreciate everybody joining us. Look forward to doing it again. We'll be back in the regular studios tomorrow. So back to live action. And then, of course, on Saturday, Hoosier Hysteria out at Simon Scott Assembly Hall there in Bloomington, 4:30. That gets underway. So a lot to get to, a lot to talk about. But that's going to wrap it up today from the Rosemont Hilton in Chicago. For all my guests, thanks again for Jay keeping things on the wheel, keeping us on the track. I'm Jim Coyle, and I will see you on the radio.